be so it's good.
Okay.
What am I being asked here that I say okay? Okay. Great.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to today's session. This is the day that the Lord has made, that we may rejoice and be glad in it. And we are here actually because we want to have a good time talking about the subject of intentionality in a series of conversations that we are doing here, which is part of a project that has been done by amazing women leaders drawn from the corporate space in Kenya. The project is titled Why Intentionality Matters. We are looking at the value of intentionality and how to use it to leverage competitiveness, productivity, growth, and all those beautiful things that we can get because of activating the discipline of intentionality. And today, I am joined by two of the 10 amazing authors to help us put into context the whole subject of intentionality and why it matters. So I'll be giving them a few minutes to introduce themselves as we start. But just to let you know, today I'm joined by Lillian Mashanga, who is going to be one of the discussants, and Claire Munene. They are going to be part of the conversation in the next 1 hour or so to help us put into context the value of intentionality. And so before we go into that, I'll just give them each a minute or two to tell us briefly about who they are, what drives them, and what they are about in this season of life. So I'll pass the mic to you, Claire, first, and then to Lillian. Just a brief intro about yourself. Can you hear me, Claire? All right, looks like she's frozen. Lillian, can you get me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sure, you can go first.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Lillian Machanga. By profession, I'm an internal auditor, and it's work that I've been doing for the past 16 years, specifically in the financial services industry. And for me, what drives me is to be able to leave a legacy, because over the time I've come to appreciate that at one point we're going to exit this world, and then what matters is what you're able to pass down. And for me, it's my values, my thoughts, and that's why it was a very exciting project for me to be part of this book on why intentionality matters.
Well, thank you so very much, Lillian. I like the choice of words you're using. Legacy. It's important to think legacy, whether someone is a leader or not, because at the end of the day, for me, one of the questions that I ask myself is, what value did I bring to life? And that question alone is enough to trouble anyone who is serious about it, and even to call them to intentionality, because sometimes if you don't take the discipline of intentionality, then the world has enough agenda to keep you busy for the whole of your life until your time is up. So it's only intentional people who will call themselves to order to make sure that at least they're driving useful value and positive impact before their time is up. And I also like the fact that you are aware that we are not eternal in this part of life. So sometimes that awareness is actually some good kind of driver to pushing somebody in the direction of intentionality. Lillian, Claire, I don't know if you are back with us. You had frozen a bit, so if you're back, please unmute and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Yes, okay. You can hear? I hope it's clear. Who am I? I think I'll just start by saying a child of God. I'm a child of God. I'm a wife and mother to two amazing teenagers, although one would dispute that because he's 10, he's 18, so he thinks he's an adult. And someone passionate about coaching and transforming people to be the best versions of themselves. I'm blessed and honored to be part of this project that allowed me to do and that was to why should people think and be my shoulders so that they can go a lot higher, and that's the motivation behind being a part of this project.
Oh, thank you so very much, Claire, and thanks for the intro. I like the things that you're concerned about, coaching and helping people to be the best versions of themselves. I think for me, one of the most important thing is the question of whether or not someone is able to fully exploit themselves by the time they are done. So I know the value of coaching, because sometimes coaches help people to see what's possible and how best to approach that. So I really appreciate you for that and the work that you do. So we are now going to go into the crust of the matter. And before I ask you very, very serious questions, I would just want each one of you to help our audiences to put into context. What is your understanding of intentionality? Yeah, let me just ask that part of the question, because the next part I'll ask as a second question. What is your understanding of intentionality? And maybe I can go with you, Lillian, and then Claire can take it up.
Thank you, Doso. For me, intentionality means having a clear purpose, something that you're constantly driving to. And I'd put it as those goals that we have for ourselves. So being intentional means that you're clear about your vision, why you're created to be on this earth, and what you're doing in this earth.
All right. That's how about you, Claire?
I guess it's similar somewhat. I think intentionality, I agree, it begins with purpose. When I understand my purpose and what my purpose is, intentionality then becomes being deliberate about walking in my purpose in all spheres of my life. That whatever I am doing, be it a mother, a friend, it all speaks to that one direction that I'm working towards. And one of the ladies on this book project said something the last time we were sitting that has stuck with me, and I'll use it today, where she said it's about being giving yes on purpose. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what I will add to my understanding, that accepting to do things on my purpose. Yeah.
Wow, that is so lovely. Accepting to do things on purpose. Now, when you people wrote this book, I read through the book and I saw each one of you has an issue of concern, and that is why you wrote about different things. For example, I'm just trying to look for your chapter here. Lillian was concerned about intentionality and productivity, and Caroline, I think you are concerned about intentionality and leadership. So I want us to pick your issues of concern around these two areas, and I'll start with you, Lillian. And I'm particularly interested in what you wrote about, because I have written a book about productivity. I call it Why Capacity Matters. I just link competence or skillfulness and productivity, and how a lack of this sometimes really affects the quality of what comes out in terms of productivity. And now here you're coming in with intentionality and productivity. What is your concern about productivity, and why do you think intentionality is an important strategy in boosting productivity or attending to quality productivity?
I think for me, it's important because you could be expanding energy using resources and you're not heading anywhere
Yeah.
while you don't have a clear goal. So intentionality helps you to focus, to me, on what matters. So for instance, in terms of your career, knowing where do you want to go. So if there's an obstacle, because life is full of challenges, and we normally, I believe, when you don't have a clear focus of where you want to go, then you work for everyone else. And I don't mean from the employment and self-employment perspective. You could be working for someone else because you're expanding your energy and you're using your resources to things that do not concern you. I don't know if you've met someone who is in everyone's business, but then when you ask them, what are you doing for yourself?
Yes.
What had you purposed to do today that you feel you've achieved? And what we forget is every day counts, because 2 days, 5 days becomes 7 days becomes a week, 30 days becomes a month, 52 weeks becomes a year. So it's very easy to keep on growing in life and you're not working towards something. I was having a conversation with my friend yesterday and was saying the way time has moved between COVID and now. And if you're not very, because life stopped to an extent, but time kept on moving. So the children who are born during COVID are now turning 6. It's a full 6 years. So what can you account for the 6 years? And I think it doesn't mean that you will not be going through a difficult season where things are not working out, but by the fact that you've not lost sight of the goal that you want to achieve, then you're still making progress. Yeah.
I like what you're saying. You mentioned some keywords there. Expanding energy. Very interesting, really, to think about that. Working for yourself, time is passing, and losing sight. Those are very key words you're using there. I so much believe in energy. I actually think human beings are an energy resource that is given a particular period of time for which they should be productive or fruitful, and for which they will be judged. Yesterday I was having a conversation with somebody and I was telling them, I think the way God looks at us, He's more concerned about fruitfulness than legacy. We are the ones who talk legacy, but God doesn't talk legacy. God talks fruitfulness. What did you do with what I gave you? So that the idea of expending your energy in an intentional way to achieve your purpose, for me, is one of the biggest things. If anybody can have that understanding from a very young age and from the beginning of things, because everything we are getting ourselves into has a beginning. So if you can think about it at the beginning and use that as some way of guiding yourself into the investments you're getting into, then you will do better than somebody who is just throwing themselves around because they woke up in the morning and realize that they are still alive and therefore they have to leave. So thank you so much for sharing those insights. I'm coming to you, Claire. You're right about intentionality and leadership. We've really heard so much about the importance of leadership, and I read John Maxwell a lot, and there's a statement he says that everything rises and falls on leadership. I believe in that 100%. So what is your concern about leadership and intentionality?
It's interesting. I read John C. Maxwell as well. And I really, really feel like the way he has structured his conversations and his principles and his experience and learning really, really talk to being leaders of purpose. Why do I feel they are hinged together? I think leadership will have a lot to do with output, because um, where leaders lead different things in life, there's a leader always. There's nothing that lacks leadership in one element or the other.
Yeah.
It could be, a home, the marketplace, in terms of if you work in an office, even in your business, you're a leader.
That's
And
right.
it's important to be intentional, because as you lead in whatever capacity you lead, because we are all leaders, by the way, one way or another, in one form.
Yes.
As you lead, and Lillian alluded to it, if there is no deliberate look at how you lead, then there is no concerted effort at, looking at a certain, how do I say, framing a certain result or output. And maybe if I can add to that, saying that things will be haphazard, if I can put it that way. However, if you're deliberate about your expectations, so for example, if I can give an example, I am, the expectation is that I want to get a certain form of productivity where I work. Yeah. However, and that productivity that I expect is definitely, if I'm leading in one particular area, is through people, because then it means I work through people, produce results through people. That being the case, then how these people are guided, how they are managed, how they, they are taken care of, determines what the output will be, because all those things are levers. And what are these levers? How you communicate, you know. Um, you can choose to communicate in different ways, but how you communicate determines what the feedback or the results will be. The attitude I have towards them, because my attitude then determines the things I do, the way I speak, the way I handle them, and to a certain extent, even the my contribution towards them. And I believe that if you're deliberate and as a leader, then that then determines how you will guide that area, those processes, those people, because you only do that which you know will positively transform the results you expect.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's all right. That's so deep. I like how you are framing it. And one thing you said, of course, which has really caught my attention is that nothing lacks leadership. There's some kind of leadership going on for things.
Mm.
Even for those who are not leading themselves, they are falling under the influence of those who are already exercising leadership in that sphere or that jurisdiction, which is a very powerful thing. But I also like the way you are tying that up with the idea of effort and framing results and deliberateness, etc., which is very important. So that in the very end, the power of intentionality, in my opinion, based on what you've just said, it boosts the effectiveness of leadership, and actually it makes leadership possible. Because there has to be a force that guides leadership. Otherwise, unintentional leadership is as chaotic as trouble.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that is so good. So, yeah, when you talk about productivity, I have a question that I want to place to Lillian. Today, Lillian, despite the fact that we live in the information age, we have a huge lot of people who are struggling with productivity, and we know that education is not a problem these days. Almost everybody is educated, but not everybody is productive. And one of the things I'm observing is that there seem to be a lot more trouble with educated, especially highly educated people. They seem to struggle with productivity. I don't know how they are not able to connect between being educated and delivering on the front line. So I wanted to speak to the question of the challenge of productivity, especially with the current workforce, and specifically addressing the question of of the value that people bring to the table, because there are so many people who think that the value they bring is the degrees they have collected from wherever. Speak to that, please.
Thank you. I think we live in a very interesting age where we have access to information readily. You hold your smartphone, you will have now, even with AI, you can do so much. But I think also it presents a challenge of there are so many distractions. We have so much that can keep us occupied with actually not doing work. So, and that's why the bit for intentionality comes in. Yes, for instance, if you're doing research, knowing that you could easily be going down a rabbit hole if you're not clear about what information are you looking for, and when, at what point do you stop. And the fact that someone is educated doesn't mean that they can be able to execute the job, because I found it interesting when I started working. So you have this degree, you have the papers. By the time I was finishing campus, I was a CPAK, and I had my now degree, but I didn't have the skills. And you need to have humility to be able to learn, because your degree, your certification has gotten you into the door. For you to be able to grow, for you to be able to deliver, let alone grow, to be able to deliver, you need to learn the skill sets. What I find that is brilliant in this time and age is the fact that a college student can be working on getting those skills when they're still in school. Because those opportunities, there's YouTube, you can go and learn how to do whatever you want to do. So I find information is there, but if you're not clear about what you want to do with that information, then it doesn't assist you. So intentionality will always be finding itself in that conversation, if we are to use the resources, even the access to information effectively and to benefit ourselves.
That's so great. So what I hear you say is that if intentionality is the instrument we use to tie the loose end of having academic knowledge and all this information, and marrying it or bringing it to the place where it is mixed with skillfulness, so that using this to somebody can be able to deliver useful value.
Yes.
Wow, that is so good. Claire, this challenge poses a huge problem to leadership. Ideal leadership is where there is proper vision and structures are there, and of course there is a competent and willing workforce, and people are aligning and investing themselves into things. But then of course we have a leadership today that is working with a very distracted workforce, sometimes very knowledgeable and not as skillful, or a leadership that is faced with the challenge of rapid and very disruptive change. What is your opinion about the role of leadership in aligning this whole conversation of intentionality and value generation or value creation in an environment where there is rapid change?
Okay, I'll pick it up from where Lillian left it first. It's interesting that you asked that question, because they're actually related from where I sit, in the sense that we glorified academia, and not to say it is important to read and to learn. I mean, it's the foundation from which, as human beings, I believe we evolve, and it gets more and more, shall I say, evolved, if I can call it that. When we glorified academia and forgot the value, I believe we came to a place where people were not looking at what they could do or what problems they could solve, but rather coming to earn money. And so this translated into leadership, because then we began to look at our leadership based on number of years worked, based on how many qualifications and certifications they had, and not based on the type of challenges that they had overcome, not based on the type of experiences, not based on the type of problems they have solved.
Mm.
And in looking at it from that perspective, then for me, it becomes a situation of, even as a leader, you ask yourself, you have been put to lead a particular program, project, group of resources, including people, but what are we trying to solve? When you look at it from that broad framework, then it means then you become a leader. You now then understand that as the basis for which will guide how you deal or manage a workforce. The workforce becomes distracted because they are not valued, because value has become not what they can contribute, but more about what level they're at. And so they end up being distracted. And I've been blessed with very many young people who have fantastic, they may not have a doctorate, and because either by choice or because we haven't taught them the value of that, or they don't see their contribution. However, like Lillian said, they have used the technical resources and the digital platforms available to to build a knowledge base in themselves that understands how to solve problems. And then I think the challenge becomes, as a leader, you need to be able to understand people individually, understand, what makes them tick, what type of problems they would like to solve, and then put them in positions, in projects, in programs that will exploit that interest and that capability that can make us transform organizations and communities. Yeah, that's what I believe. That I believe will shift. Many people complain today that the Gen Zs don't want to work and they're lazy and this and that and the other. I disagree. I have worked with many hardworking of them. What I do agree is when we do not take the time to understand what is important to them, then they become distracted. And so the onus is on those who are leading such individuals to take the time to understand how to keep them engaged.
Wow, that is so powerful. What I hear you say is that no one should practice leadership the traditional way. The rate at which things are moving, you have to be very intentional about understanding your people, understanding the situation around, understanding the emerging trends and whatever where the world is headed, and being able to tie all those loose ends together, at least to make your leadership productive, because you can't be a positional leader, but you're not scoring any positive results on that front. So it just makes you somebody who is occupying leadership space, but nothing like leadership happening from your end. Thank you so very much for that. I can see one of your colleagues here, Pili Kasara, is in the meeting. Pili, if you can hear me, I would want to call on you to say hello to us before we proceed. Let me know if you can hear my voice, Pili.
Hi, Doso. Yes, I
Hello.
can hear your voice. I can. Really enjoying the conversation. Thank you so much for inviting me to say hi.
All right, thank you so much. We are so glad to have you here today. If you are listening to this conversation or watching us on YouTube, this conversation is brought to you by Zampal Publishers, and today we are looking at the subject of why intentionality matters, the value of intentionality, and how to use it to leverage competitiveness. And joining me in the conversation is Claire Munene and Lillian Machanga, who are authors of the book, Why Intentionality Matters. If you can look at the screen, then you'll see how the book looks like. Beautiful material, has a number of very, very useful insights coming from the different chapters that have been done by the 10 contributing authors here, each one of them concerned about certain issues and how to place intentionality in those specific issues as a way of speaking to the challenges that we are facing, and of course, speaking to the different aspects of life based on how they are looking at it. The material is already out, so if you would want to get a copy of the book, I will be sharing some links in the chat box. which will allow you to see where you can get the book. But of course, as we do this conversation, we are gearing up to the official launch of the book, which is happening on the 21st of June at the Trademark Suits Enaki here in Nairobi. And I would want to take this very early opportunity to invite you to join us. I'll be sharing links in the chat just in case you are interested in being part of that experience. You will follow that link and register your interest there. And then I know we will be meeting you there for a very, very amazing time. This book has positioned itself as an instrument that can help the audience or the readers to know how to apply intentionality in leveraging competitiveness. Now, today we are living at a time where we are competing against almost everything. We are competing against technology, we are competing against each other, we are competing against machines, we are competing against time, and everything is just, it's like the world is imploding on us as human beings. I don't know what's going to happen to us in the next 50 years. Looks like most of the traditional things we did will have been taken over by machines, but it also looks like we are going to be under the assistance of so much technology that we will have to redefine levels of human capability and levels of human productivity, because just like Lillian said earlier, if you decided to use ChatGPT today, you will move at a speed almost 200 times faster than what they did 20 years ago. For example, today you don't have to use your own brain to think. You can cause your mind to be triggered, ask for suggestions from ChatGPT. So things like thought block and mind block, those are things that are going to be phased out of human life, because when you experience a block, you trigger thoughts by asking for help from machines around, and that's very beautiful. So and of course, because of that, we are slowly being ushered into a 24-hour not just economy, but a 24-hour kind of lifestyle, because you can have gadgets all over you, so that even when you are asleep, some things are being done for you with the help of machines. So Lillian and Claire, I want you to help me address the question of leveraging competitiveness now that we are in a fast-moving world. Everything is competing against us, and of course we are competing against each other. How do we use intentionality as an instrument of boosting competitiveness or leveraging competitiveness? I'll start with you, Lillian, and then Claire will take it up.
Thank you. I look at it, especially in terms of technology, enabling us to be able to work faster, to work smarter. And I think it provides now an opportunity for one to be able to live a wholesome life. PPT presentations that would take you 2 days or a week to be able to refine. Once you have the basic information, you can be able to trigger, like you've said, trigger your thoughts and close on it very quickly. And I think for me, it provides an opportunity for one now to be able to live a wholesome life, because then you free up your time to be able to do so many other things. I find that because of this, I think people even now are going to be able to live wholesome life. If you have a hobby, you can be able now to allocate time. You can be able to be present for your family. You can be able to be present for your friends. You can even be able to have alternative sources of income by virtue of leveraging on technology. So I find that the more we are discovering how we can be able to use, especially AI, the more we have capacity to live wholesome lives. Because one thing that it has helped us to do is to free up our time.
Yes.
If the sales decks that used to take people almost 3 days a week to be able to complete will take a matter of hours, meaning this person can, if it's at work, they can be assigned to something else. And I find because we are in a state where we want to be part of solving problems, then that time will be used very well. If you look at the number of small, medium enterprises, SMEs that have come up. Who knew that you could have delivery? I'm seeing people do all manner of jobs. You can have someone come and do meal planning for you. What it means is you can come home, have a balanced meal, and you can free your time if you need to log in for a session to be able to upskill yourself, then you have that capacity. So I find that we are living in very interesting times. And I saw someone advertising a training on how to leverage on AI, and I thought, wow, yeah, what an interesting time. If you learn to use the technology, then it frees up your time, and you can be able to do many things. Yeah.
That's so great. I like your last statement. If you learn how to use technology, it helps you to do very many things. And of course, freeing up your time. That's a very important thing, because if there's anything that is always running out and aging us, I don't like the way time is aging us as it passes. If it was passing and not aging anybody, I would be very glad. But I wake up in the morning and I find a wrinkle on my face, and I didn't leave it there last night when I went to bed. My goodness. So I keep telling myself, you know what, before this energy dissipates, because the energy of youth is eaten away by the passing of time. So it's very important to free it up and use it intentionally for productivity. Claire, I'm keen to hear your thoughts about intentionality and competitiveness in the world that we live in today.
So I think it will be heavily led by technology, just like Lillian said earlier. And she talked to time and all. And I think where intentionality comes in, it will be in pursuit of focus excellence, if I can put it that way. What do I mean? That if we take part in so many roles that really have no business or interest to do, but they are a part of the process. So then AI will allow that part of the process to be carried out, and the process that requires probably more creativity, more of the human elements component in terms of empathy, compassion, for us to put in more time, and we'll have been fed by more fact that will allow us to execute on that and come up with more focused results, if I can call it that. So even when you speak to competitiveness, who knows, maybe at that point in time, we'll find ourselves more of a unity of delivery rather than competition. Why should they be competition or rivalry? I mean, if consolidating resources or efforts one way or another can give us a greater result, and we'll have cut down on the slack, because you'll find most of this slack is very expensive, and that's why things are the way they are, then it might actually bring and I'm saying might, I don't know, because I've seen a lot of partnership opportunity where we focus, and you say, well, we're focused in a particular industry. We've been doing this just because by value of the fact that it goes there. Why not now, focus only on what we are interested in as an entity, and for these particular elements that can be carried out by AI, so be it. We use them by AI or hand off to those who are interested in those areas and are interested in building a technical capacity for delivery of that. That's my take. But we are continuing to look at it because people are building models along, prescriptive, predictive. But the truth of the matter is, the heart of the human is it's outside of science. If it were, then this would have been done a long time ago and would have been robotic. And even the Bible tells us only God can know. We can't know. We also don't even know ourselves, by the way, that well. And that being the case, then we will focus, I think, on understanding that focusing on empathy, compassion, and being more humane, hopefully. Hopefully.
Wow, that is so good. My opinion is that the best beneficiary of intentionality is the enhance productivity of an individual, because for me intentionality is a discipline that allows you to marshal your resourcefulness and your energies and focus them in a deliberate way in a particular direction, so that if you can outperform yourself, if say for example you are moving at a speed of 5, and then by becoming more intentional, you begin to move at the speed of 60, then that's the very essence of this. And I think intentionality helps us to reduce what I would call the wastefulness that results from human indiscipline, because the way they give birth to us, we are born very ignorant, very incompetent, very dependable on the people who give birth to us. I mean, we have to be trained somehow for us to begin to be something useful. If they don't shape us, if they let us just be like that, we would be wild people who would not be capable of intelligence or capable of direction or fruitfulness or productivity in any way. So that intentionality, in my opinion, would boost how sharp we show up, how effective we are, and how productive we are. So if somebody can help move themselves from being very wasteful to being very productive because of embracing the discipline of intentionality, then I think that that's a win already. And of course, the same can be replicated in groups of people, in organizations, in nations, etc. Today, I was listening to the conversation between Mary Omai and the governor of Moranga, the Honorable Irongo Kangata. And I listened to the conversation. At some point, he was giving examples of the people he's modeling after. And every name he mentioned, to me, the common characteristic across the board was how intentional and how disciplined they were, both at personal level and then applying the same to their nations, and therefore affecting their people by that. And I really was impressed by that. So I am so much in agreement with what you people are saying. Now, I want us to look at women and intentionality. Now, when you talk about women have a very interesting history, especially in this part of the world. We are coming from a background where women are just there to be seen and not heard. But these days, the situation has changed. We are having an increasing number of women who are actually driving very, very useful value and impact in our society. Now, while that is happening, we also have a huge number of women who are still struggling with very many things, because of the fact that there are different facets that will now begin to call for their attention. And the idea of being well guided or disciplined or intentional or deliberate about certain things becomes a very useful thing to sell to the women, or to encourage as many women as possible to embrace it. So I want you to speak to this matter, because I know you are women. I don't know how long you have been women. These days, people ask the question, how long have you been that gender? And the situation is happening out here. So speak to this issue as women, and also speak to the women audience that may be listening to this conversation today. What is the value of intentionality, especially for women who are keen on being exceptional or productive or successful in whatever area they are investing themselves? Lillian, you can take it up first.
Thank you. I was laughing when you're asking how long, because yes, we live in very interesting times.
Yes.
I like this day and age, and it's because with access to information, and especially on the social media platforms, you can be able to find people who relate, or who have either gone through a situation that you're currently going through, and you'll be able to get insights on how they had addressed the challenges. And for me, being intentional as a woman means, one, appreciating the season that I'm in. For instance, for someone who is going to be a parent, we know very well the tender age from getting expectant to having a small child to up to them getting to be slightly independent. Those are years that will slow you down in other facets of life, whether it's career, whether you're a business person, and appreciating that life is in seasons. I think for me, that's the aspect of intentionality. So that then you're able to show up 100%. So if this season is a season for you to upskill yourself, then you're doing everything within your power to be able to upskill yourself. If it's a season where I'm very passionate about teaching women how to manage their resources, especially the finances, effectively. If you're in a season of saving and investing, then intentionality means you're very clear to sticking to your budget because you know you have a goal and a purpose that you're seeking to achieve. And the good thing is right now, there's so many resources. Like even for instance, the project that you're doing, bringing women together to write about different topics, that still is a part of intentionality. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so very much, Lillian. Claire, let me hear your opinion about women and intentionality and why that should be a big deal.
I think it's a big deal because while not everything that is important is beneficial or needed in season. And so it's about focusing on that is needed or required. Only intentionality can help you to. You will be running from a chama and failing while at it. So you know how they ask about balancing. For me, balancing is prioritization. It is understanding what is important at that particular time and focusing only on that. That to me is balance. But balance is not running around trying to do everything and trying to be all women or to all women and men, or yeah.
I absolutely agree.
Yes, you want to add something, Lillian?
Yeah, I like to picking up on what Claire was saying. And this just brought back a memory of my younger self when I was a new mom, and I wanted to be the one to do everything. So you're on maternity leave, I was trying to be the primary caregiver, of course, to my child. I also want to be a homemaker. I want to be all this number of people, and not forgetting that this is a season, and what is more important is actually being a primary caregiver to my child. These other things I could be able to delegate. So when I look back, I wasn't being intentional then. And that's why for me right now, being very clear about what do you want to achieve and what must you do yourself. Because intentionality is also knowing that you can delegate. I'm a proponent of saying, if you can be able to delegate, if you can be able to pay for a service so that you focus on what needs to be done solely by you, then that's being intentional. Because then you're very clear about what is the goal and what is the purpose and what you must do to get there.
Lillian, if you can allow me, Mr. Dosa, Lillian has tagged that an emotional straw. I love that she brought, when she has shared her experience, she made me remember an experience that put me in that place that she's talking about, and what makes us say what we are saying now in terms of to prioritize. I remember in the earlier days, we would work long and hard hours, and it's the season. And there was a time where sometimes it necessitated, doing cutover on systems. And at that time, I was doing business development. And then once we would do that cutover, maybe we would have, we were launching something. And then you would need to do some reporting to the exco, steerco, early the next morning in terms of how things are moving, and then, leave it from there. And in one of those particular, launching one of those things, I remember one time in my bid to trying to deal and do and please and all, I got home at 5 a.m. and I was the one who used to drop my son off to school. It was very important for me, to be the one to spend as much time as possible with my children, the younger. I think that time he was in standard 1. He had just joined primary, and that was my firstborn child. And so I remember just quickly preparing and getting in the car, then remembering that, oh gosh, I have steer call later that morning as well to brief on execution at 8. And was there no other way for my son to be taken to school? No, there was. His father was there, thankfully, or, in this African community, I could have called probably, someone else. But it was important to me, or I thought that I must take him. What happened was that I ended up in remote control. I hadn't rested, I hadn't had sleep, I had all these pressures that I felt I needed to do. And the 8 o'clock was on my mind. I found myself driving, and I got to the gate of the office, and I had a little voice at the back seat ask me, "Mom, what are we doing here?" And I'll never forget how I was so shocked. And so, well, we turned around and I drove to school. It was not too far off, all in the same locality. And I remember sitting in the parking and weeping for a while before I could move from school, and wondering, how did I get here? What I thought was most important to me slipped my mind. And actually, even to date, this 19-year-old remembers that incident. Can you imagine? He still remembers that incident to date. And how that, we drove, and I drove him to the office instead of school. So you see, I had my priorities wrong. I thought that I needed to do everything. And anyway, who said I needed to present at 8 either? We did the work. I had an able colleague who I could have shared the report details with, because it was done. But we have this fallacy that unless I am seen, unless I present myself, then I'm non-existent. No, it's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. And I like that Lillian took me back there, because that is one of my major turning points in the way I carried myself, or the things I decided to do, or being up and deciding you're the one who's going to present. No, I would tell people I have a team. The person who leads that is X. They will come to the meeting. Their word, you don't need to see me. Their word is carries weight as well. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so very much for that. The other day, I think 2 days ago, I was thinking about the blessing of, just accepting not to be in charge of everything. Because I think one of the things that kills people is when you are only secure with you being in charge, and you feel like when other people are in charge, things will not move. And this came from the fact that I began to think about how life quickly moves on once somebody has rested. And when they were alive, they thought, if I'm not there, my children will not be taken good care of. Who said that? One day you will pass on and you realize that your children are just fine. They'll figure something out, or somebody else will step in, and life will continue. And the other day I was having a conversation with somebody, and they were saying that one of the reasons why we do not know how to fully trust in God is because we want to continue being in charge. You pray for something, but you keep monitoring that thing as if it's your business. By the time you have prayed for something, that means you should leave it in the hands of God. So we should stop monitoring what we have already presented before God. And when she said that, I really felt relieved because I've suffered that thing before, where you want God to be in charge, but you also want to be in charge of God so that you show him how he should be in charge. So you wonder, why were you then praying even at the beginning? So that's a very important point that you have said. I think one of the things that should benefit any woman or any lady listening to this conversation is just, understanding how to use the power of intentionality to free yourself, because I think many women are so concerned about many things. There's a time I was talking to my sister. I have six sisters. So the youngest is my friend. So I was asking her, so this thing of you people, minding so much how people will see you out there. I asked her, is there anybody out here who will wait for you at the corner and look for you so that they assess how you are dressed? Or why don't you just be like men? You see, men, we don't really care about what people say about us. You just put on that t-shirt and that short and you're out. You're going. So we were having a funny conversation asking the question, about the pressure that women put on themselves because they think there is somebody out there who will see them and talk about them, and how that talk will mess up their life. So my point to her was, you can free yourself and just be easy. Just be comfortable in your skin, show up the way you feel. This is what is comfortable for me, and move around. Sometimes there is nobody really talking about you, and yet you have this voice in your mind telling you, now they are looking at me, now they are criticizing me, now what will they say? And if you look at what experts have said about women and risk taking, a lot of the women have this challenge of asking the question, what will people say about me? And sometimes there is nobody who is going to say anything about you, or the people who will say anything, they will actually applaud you or celebrate you for trying or doing something. So what you have talked about, this whole idea of wanting to be in charge of all things, and how that can be very burdensome to the life of someone, is a very important thing. And I think for women that should be a very important thing. So what I hear you people say is that it's possible for women to take on intentionality to boost their productivity and to free themselves from the many things that would distract them from focusing on the most important thing. So as we bring this conversation to a close today, I want you people to just briefly give a remark about why somebody should invest in this book, because I've read this book now, I think the third time, from first page to the last page, and I like it. I'm getting inspired, even getting ideas about some other things that I should be doing. What would be your reason for anybody who is listening to this conversation today on why they should invest in reading this book, and what do you promise that they should get out of this book by the time they have read it? Lillian.
Thank you. What I like about storytelling, because that's what the book is all about, is and especially in this particular book, because we have 10 different authors who are seeing things from different perspectives. So you have the benefit of looking or reading about the same topic from 10 different perspectives. Everyone wrote the book independently. So definitely you're going to have a story that you're going to relate to. You're going to learn what intentionality means to Claire, to myself, to Philly, and the other writers. And the beauty is you can pick something from there. And also we've given our contact details on that book, and be able to engage and take this discussion further, because what we intend to achieve is to be able to tell our stories for impact. And impact is twofold. Even as we are learning from, even by virtue of being part of this webinar, I've picked 1 or 2, 3 things that I can be able to change, implement, and improve my life. So if you're big on self-development, definitely you're getting your money's worth, because many other books will have stories from just one perspective, but here you're going to have the same story but from 10 different perspectives.
Well, thank you so very much. And I like what you said about personal development. Many people actually misunderstand personal development to mean empty motivation and stuff. But those of us who know how to grow by pursuing personal development, we can tell you confidently that it's a good thing. You can wake up in the morning not knowing something, and because you're intentional about moving forward or growing, by the time you're going back to the bed in the evening, you have actually added something onto your life that was not there. And for those of us who do personal development seriously, we know the value of books. We talk about books, we think books, and then of course attending meetings that can empower you or that can help you, grow in a way or the other. So I agree with you, Lillian. That's very important. Thank you so much for that. Claire, what's your opinion about the value that anybody should get when they begin to invest themselves in reading this material?
If you invest in this material, I must say, and I'm still reading, I just keep reading and picking. I have a little bit book I work with, so I love to write. Maybe I'm old school, and I keep picking things. Like I'm seeing here, I had picked Say on Purpose that was said by Lorna, one of the authors. Rebecca, said, teach yourself, or you need to know where the line is drawn, or else the line in life will be drawn for you. you know, Lorna Abaki says, give value where you are valued. And there's lots more from Lillian, from Pili. I think this is a special book because it's a book that cuts across the synergy of people who approach life differently. There's nothing more beautiful than that. But all seeing, converging at one place, which is intentionality. And so if you don't want to drift in whatever place you are in your life, in family, in the workplace, whatever that may be, and you want to take charge and begin to pilot your life, then this is the book for you.
Wow, thank you so very much. And I have to let the audience know that this is the first book of its kind, I think, in Africa to be written by women leaders sharing from their experiences and specifically tackling the subject of intentionality. When I went to Amazon to see how many other books have been written on the subject of intentionality, I would see John Maxwell's book about living. I don't know what's the title, living something. But then this book is among the books that are being talked about in the area of intentionality. So I treasure this because as I speak to you today, this is historical. This is historical. If they will write another book on intentionality, then they will be coming after this. So this makes it a very, very special book. And as has been said, it's a book that is written from lived experiences. And there is nothing as powerful as listening to somebody who is speaking to you from an experience that they have lived. So this is a resource worth investing in. And I would challenge anybody who is serious about boosting productivity or enhancing their competitiveness to read this material. This book can be read by both men and women, young and old, leaders and those who are not leaders, people in the corporate world and those who are in civil society and in government. Anybody can read this book and learn useful material from it. Now, we are getting ready for the official launch of the book, which is happening on the 21st of June at Trademark Enaki here in Nairobi. And we are gearing up for a very, very exciting day. Personally, from where I sit, I'm already seeing a huge day happening on that particular day. And I can't just wait for the day to come so we can go there and experience the day. So I want to give Lillian and Claire an opportunity to give an official invitation to our audiences to the launch and specifically let them know what they should expect on that particular day, because it's going to be a big day. It's going to be a history making and a history writing day for us, and especially for those who've been involved in the writing of this material. Over to you, ladies.
Let me go first. I mean, if you need to come to meet all the amazing people that not only have written this book, but that have brought it together. Zion Publishers is led by Mr. Doso. It's not one person; it's a team, and it's a very interesting team as well. So, if you want to come and learn together with us, because we'll be learning, share conversations, share experiences, be motivated, be inspired, even to write your own experiences, probably, please, then just don't miss. Just come on the 21st. We are waiting for you, and we will be there to sit with you, to chat, and just spend time. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so
So
very much.
karibuni.
Thank you so very much, Claire. Just don't miss. That's what I hear you say. Lillian, over to you.
Thank you. What we're promising to happen on the 21st is, one, we're going to have a celebration because, like Mr. Doso said, this is one of a kind book. And we are going to have very interesting discussions from ourselves, the writers, and also other people that we have invited to share from their perspectives what intentionality means. And this is a good time of the year. We're getting into the second half of the year. So it's a time to also come and assess and see what were you planning to do. So come ready to be re-energized, come ready to refocus, come ready to share experiences. We're also looking forward to learning from the audience through question and answer sessions that we are going to be having. So it's going to be a very exciting day. It's going to be a day that you're going to be looking back and saying, I made this decision and it impacted my life positively. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so very much.
Great things. Yeah.
Thank you. It's going to be a great day. And if you're listening to us today, then you know what to expect on that particular day. These two ladies are among a group of 10 that contributed to the writing of the book. So we have another 8 very, very powerful authors who will be joining us on that particular day. And we are hoping that the day is going to be great. So you cannot afford to miss that. So as we bring this conversation to a close, I will allow you ladies again to give your parting shot. What is your final thought, the one that you want to use to close the conversation today, or you want anybody who has been listening to us to remember, if in case they forget anything else that we have talked about today, what do you want them to not forget as we bring the conversation to a close? And go first, Claire.
What we want them not to forget, that they have the will to make a change. Change is not amorphous. Change is actually a choice. Yeah, it's not circumstance. It's choice.
Wow, thank you so much. Change is a choice. Over to you, Lillian.
Sorry, I was struggling to unmute myself. My parting shot is, we have the capacity in ourselves. Everyone was born with capacity in themselves. So if you're struggling in a particular area, just know what you need to look for is how to enhance, because the capability, you have it within yourself. And the beauty about, there's something that we spoke about earlier on when we're having this conversation about leaving a legacy. And there's something that I learned about it by virtue of just engaging with other people. Even your legacy, you have a choice. You can be intentional about it. For instance, the law right now allows you to create a trust because if you're passionate about education and you want everyone in your lineage who is coming after you to make sure that they have education, then you can be able to create a trust for them. So look at intentionality as being applicable in all spheres of your life. And remember that you have the capacity. You can be able to achieve the purpose for which you were set out to be in this earth.
Wow, thank you so much, Lillian. Intentionality is applicable in every aspect of life. I think that's very important. Everybody should remember that. And with that understanding, then we can begin to guide ourselves better towards effectiveness and better productivity. Today, we have been looking at why intentionality matters, the value of intentionality, and how to use it to leverage competitiveness. And I have been facilitating the conversation. My name is Doso Radido. I'm the founder and director of Zampa Publishers. And joining me in the conversation today, we've had Claire Monene and Lillian Mashanga. They have shared their insights and their wisdom. Without a doubt, these are people who know what they are saying. And now that they're speaking from lived experiences, you can always trust the advice that they are giving and the wisdom that they are sharing. And we are so blessed to have them being part of this project, because they are helping us to send out signals of value and signals of intentionality out here, so that whoever will pick this signal, they can be blessed by it, they can be assisted by it, and they can be helped to move in a better direction that has happened before. As we said earlier, the book is out. In case you need a copy of the book, you can always use the link that we've shared in the chat box, or you can get in touch with us at Soundpal, or even speak to the ladies themselves. Each of them should be able to at least serve you with an autographed copy. And beyond that, we are planning to officially release the book on the 21st of June at Trademark Suits Enaki here in Nairobi. The program will start at exactly 2 p.m. and we are going to have a host of amazing guests joining us. So if you can be on the lookout on our social media platforms, LinkedIn, Zaunpal Publishers, Facebook, Zaunpal Publishers, YouTube. We are also there, Zaunpal Publishers, you can find us there. We'll be putting updates there to show you who is lined up to be speaking on that particular day. And what you don't want to miss on that day is the speeches and the conversations that will be done by the ladies that have contributed to the writing of this book. And I want to invite you and make sure that you don't miss, because I'm sure you will get value for your money, you will be triggered, you'll be provoked, and of course you will network with high value people that are likely to change the course of your life or to add value to your life. So as we bring this conversation to an end, I want to thank all of you for giving us your time and for following this conversation. And of course, thank my panelists for sparing time to do this. I really appreciate you for sparing your time to come and share your insights with us today in this place. So until we meet again another time, I pray that God will bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you. And to my panelists, God will bless you too and bless your families, even as we take a break over this weekend to recharge before we begin to be intentional again in the new week. Thank you so very much, and God bless you all.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.